hybrid warfare.
Warfare can refer to any form of aggression short of open invasion.
Welcome to Tactical Talk. This is Zain. Today the topic of our show is the hybrid warfare. We're going to be discussing the dynamics and different layers of what the hybrid warfare really is. The guest of our show is the Director General of Pakistan House, Athar Javed. He's also a senior geopolitical analyst. Welcome to our show, Athar Javed. This is Zain Khan. It's a pleasure to have you on Tactical Talk.
Thank you very much, Zain. It's nice to be with you.
Athar Javed, let's get to the first question. What exactly is hybrid warfare?
I think hybrid warfare, actually there is no specific definition to it. The hybrid itself, war itself explains, we can call it self-explanatory, that it's a combination of conventional and non-conventional means. The enemy actually intensifies its assault on a country by using 3 to 4 different kind of tactics of war. And that may not be conventional, but that can include conventional means. For example, if into our region, if I have to define hybrid warfare, we look at the classic case of India, for example, that India uses line of control as a conventional means and cross-border firing, artillery fire, and other use of heavy ammunition. And inside Pakistan, it uses actually different tactics. For example, employing intelligence networks, then sabotaging your economy, then of course creating harassment and terror among people. And so it has a broader, I would say, landscape if we look at the different components. So the combination of state conventional and non-conventional methods of war can be defined as hybrid warfare.
Athar Javed, how is hybrid warfare affecting the world peace and especially Middle East and South Asia?
Actually, this is a very important question and also highlights the complexity of hybrid warfare in contemporary era. In the case of Middle East, I think we have seen since 2003, since the war started in Iraq in March 2003, when United States delivered shock and awe, as they call it, the war code name. It actually, what it did on the ground is, whereas there were multiple militant groups operating after the first Iraq war, these groups actually got boldened because the state apparatuses were shattered and they were destroyed by the air raid. So on the ground, what it did to the militants is that they got new sponsors in terms of the regional actors, and then also the chaos which was implemented, which, as I would say, was resulted as simple reason of direct war between the U.S.-led coalition on Iraq. And this led to, I would say, a snowball effect afterwards. It traveled fast because the militant groups on the ground, which had a multiple aspect of it. One was sectarian, other was ethnic, the Kurdish factor, and then the Shia Sunni factor. They were actually very much not on fighting course before 2003. There were, of course, no-fly zone and other things. But what it did is, in the end, that it created such a humongous social chaos on the ground that it allowed the militant groups, the old one and the new one, battle spaces. So when a battle space is created by non-state actor, that shows a sort of a complete evaporation of central authority. This has happened in Iraq. Then let's go back to turn to Syria, I would say. And the Syrian case is also a classic example. that there are different militant groups, different recruits from all over the world. They created a battle space within these two countries. And then they started fighting the major powers, like the United States, like NATO member states, Russia, Turkey, and of course, not to forget the state of that country. In the case of Iraq, as I said, the 2003 to onwards till now, the actual hybrid warfare, a type of hybrid warfare exists. In case of Syria, it has worsened because in case of Iraq, there were not that big migration because the battles were drawn on the basis of two major aspects. One was ethnic and the other was sectarian. In case of Syria, there are so many groups coming from outside, so many fighters are coming from abroad, from different countries, from Western countries, Muslim countries. They had created, different clusters of battle spaces. And therefore, the dangers which really you would see, they expand their battle spaces. When the war, the hybrid warfare, or I would say the non-conventional warfare ends in one battle space, they want to use the methods, the means, the resources which they acquired, the expertise which they acquired from that previous episode, they take to the other country or the region. Let me give you the best example of how battle spaces transfers to other countries and regions. In case of South Asia, India and Indian authorities, especially the National Security Advisor and all the groups operating offensive intelligence operation in Pakistan and using soil of Afghanistan, they found it very useful. So they actually improvised and utilized those militant groups, and they have been using it now, and they are trying to bring, and they have already rather, I would say, brought ISIS, Daesh in Afghanistan. So this is the kind of result which occurs when this hybrid warfare continues in a longer period of time. I also give you an example that the NATO actually accepted and validated that the hybrid warfare exists, and of course they were particularly alluding to the case of Russia. But I'm giving you an example that the case of India is much more classic. In terms of that, India from South Asia, they recruited their resources all the way from Syria and Iraq and other Middle Eastern countries, and they are, in order to get expand their strategic depth in Afghanistan, they brought these resources to Afghanistan. And now what they are doing is from across the border, they are using those militant groups, and they come in Pakistan, attack, sabotage, kill or assassinate, and they return. And most of the time, of course, since the porous border give them this exclusive exemption that they use the rat trails to travel into the country, or they use some other covert means. But this is the way hybrid warfare is affecting the regional peace, both in the Middle East and in South Asia. And there is a danger now. We have also hints that this trend is also getting picked up even in India. So the Indians who have been trying to, bring all this stuff from the Middle East and trying to transform the nature of war within Afghanistan may also suffer. But at the moment, Indian plan and Indian that strategic depth in Afghanistan is affecting Pakistan and Pakistan's regional peace.
Can you name countries or militant organizations that are currently involved in imposing hybrid warfare?
Yes, let's start with the countries first. I would say that the major powers, including the United States, Russia, and except China actually, and other Western countries are involved in one way or the other to support this kind of project, which are affecting the Middle Eastern peace. And this is one aspect. This aspect can be perceived or looked from the prism of the developing countries. Look, for example, the Middle East region has been in tatters since 90s. And what was the Middle East before, and what happened to all those social structures there? What happened to the economy? What happened to the natural resources, the oil, the gas? Who is controlling? And these are the important facts on the ground. Then also it entails the stories of faulty intelligence, wrong intelligence, and also creating more militant groups within a country which already is suffering from war. These are the facts on the ground, as I said. Now let's go back to another country. For example, in this case, India in South Asia, Afghanistan, and we have seen the example that Sri Lanka suffered through hybrid warfare, which was also supported by India. But then the Sri Lankans, they fought out really professionally to neutralize the opponents, the militant organizations or the separatists, I would call them. At the same time, if we go in other part of the countries, we will see that more or less these are the non-state actors which has taken the lead now. For example, in case of non-state actors, we can say that starting from Al-Qaeda, and then of course they change their hands, gloves, names, then it has become Daesh, then there are other organizations. Hezbollah has been one of the groups, a leader actually in hybrid warfare. And whether Iran, Syria, or Lebanon or other countries can take it as a offense, for example, but this is a fact on the ground that Hezbollah has successfully been staging different attacks and using different tactics, because militant organization, when they get trained by the militaries, professional militaries, it has a more, I would say, professional approach to attack the opponent. And then, of course, we have in our part of the world, Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan and other groups. Lashkar-e-Harrar just came up, but there are so many groups, Lashkar-e-Jhangvi and sectarian organizations, and there are, Lashkar-e-Muhammadi was in the market for many years, has been, and they were banned they are banned actually by Pakistani state. So if we look at the countries with the major resources and the strategic interest and with the larger economies can afford to create or impose a hybrid warfare. Country of size of Pakistan and country with the economy and with the development, we are at the receiving ends. So if we look from the angle of as a political science student, you would realize that which regions have been prosper and stable in the past. Well, South Asia, I could say that after 1999-2001 tensions between India and Pakistan, more or less was a stable country. And then after 2001, 9/11, Afghanistan became again the source of instability. And that again, it was a repetition of the back in former Soviet Union's invasion in Afghanistan. So we will look from three different aspects. One aspect relates to the size of the country which chose to employ a militant organization. The second aspect relates to how efficient they create, what type of militant organization they have created, what kind of equipment they have supplied with, what kind of resources, the monetary resources, the financial resources, because all these three combinations exemplify or create sort of a huge source to create battle spaces within a stable country. These are the countries and organizations which I would say are sources of hybrid warfare.
Can you give us some points on how to counter hybrid warfare, and how can Pakistan use modern methods to counter the hybrid warfare?
Well, this is actually the key of all the questions. Since Pakistan, as I indicated, has been suffering from hybrid warfare imposed by India and Afghanistan, and of course other countries, the major countries supporting their project. And that shows, it doesn't make any sense, because we have been friends with the United States and we fought wars and we collaborated on different fronts. So, but given this fact, the historical fact, or putting this aside, if we look at the current situation, Pakistan actually very successfully countered a major portion, a major assault, I would say, of hybrid warfare, which is imposed by India. I give you an example. This Zarb-e-Azb has been one major example, but before that, Rahe-Najat, Rahe-Ras, and all other SWAT operation, all other operations, and now Raddul Fasad, they are sort of a direct link to what we have acquired and how we countered. Pakistan countered this hybrid warfare at two fronts. First, Pakistani media, Pakistani, the experts, the politicians as well, but the military, the law enforcement agencies, they ran continuous programs on different national TV channels. And of course, I would say experts like yourself and others, they have highlighted and created awareness that what hybrid warfare is. And maybe we were saying asymmetrical warfare, but basically it's the same thing. So Pakistan made good use of our media, our state media, and this is the one side. But on the ground, Pakistan Army, Pakistan Police, and Rangers, FC, all these, including intelligence agencies, I would say, ISI, IB, MI, and SIU, and all those are agencies and Ministry of Interior. They fought hand in gloves, I would say, on both fronts. One front was that they were fighting on close to the border cities, and then they turned into the urban cities. And there were intelligence-based operation which they used, and the modern technology were used, for example, tracking the phone SIMs, the phone calls, and then through the cyber security strength of Pakistan, they used that strength to unearth and neutralize all those militant groups, those who were using modern technology. And then I can tell you, I'm sure you know it, but the kind of equipment, the Indian sponsored terrorists have been using in Pakistan, they are amazing. I mean, there are equipment and telecommunication equipment they are using, and the weapon they are using is quite cannot be afforded a simple militant organization. So Pakistan used both kinetic and non-kinetic methods to subdue and neutralize and counter hybrid warfare. We are still, as we said, the work is in progress. We are still on the course of fighting these militants. And of course, we still require a lot of expertise and a consistent approach, especially in terms of media, and to counter the propaganda of Daesh and propaganda of all those non-state actors which are inciting or creating radicalization in our society and inciting more recruits. And then, of course, we also must diplomatically highlight, we did highlight, but we still need to do a lot in the Western capitals and engaging Western scholars and think tanks, universities, explaining to them that why it is important for the Western powers and the major powers to engage Pakistan and try to, discourage India and Afghanistan and any other non-state actor to not to indulge, in a warfare which may not have any end for us, but we will also, yes, we are sure that given our successes in the past in countering hybrid warfare, we are absolutely capable to defeat all kind of threats and eradicate all kind of militant groups and this conventional and non-conventional both imposed by India or Afghanistan or from any other country.
Mohammad Athar Javed, last question. India is engaged in creating social chaos and sabotage. The modern hybrid warfare is being imposed on Pakistan. To which extent is India the source of instability to world peace?
Well, I would start by saying that Pakistan, since the start of the CPAC in with the help of China, Pakistan offered almost to every country in the region, including India, to become part of this economic project. Because then economics, if we really consider, is a source of stability. If our economy is good and our society is thriving and we have a good education system and our regional partners are helping and chipping in, so this goes both ways. But what happened, since almost 5 years now, I would say that India has this subtle diplomacy and offensive posturing towards Pakistan. And India categorically opposed and said that we like to dismember Pakistan. And they were attacking Balochistan by sending not only illegal intelligence operatives, including, we said many times about the Kulbhushan Yadav episode, but India also trying to neglect and negate that the next generation of this country and the region are not interested in wars. They are more interested in progress, to expand their horizon. But the problem is that the government of India, the sitting government, the BJP, and their RSS, their group, which basically running the government, the militant group, they are so violent that they are not interested. They are even harming in harmony, peace in their own country. So what India basically is doing is that on the one hand in Kashmir, they have remarkably defeated all human rights, international law, they have violated, tremendously all the human rights standards. They have killed young children, the old people and women. On the other hand, within India, it has the same thing. I mean, as I said, the social chaos. By transforming Pakistan from stability to an unstable place, my question to Indians would be that if India seeks an international attention and seeks to become an international regional power, India has to do a homework. And Pakistan, on the other hand, has been offering all kind of negotiation. Pakistan never conditioned talks with India. Of course, Pakistan has a set agenda, and that agenda includes the core issue of Jammu and Kashmir and the Sar Creek, the Siachen, and other, including trade. But on the other hand, we have not received any indication. So therefore, I would say that India at the moment, despite its size, despite its economy and international engagement, has failed to demonstrate that it seeks a stable South Asia. Yes, India does at times gives false, I would say, signals to the Western world that they are been suffering from terrorism, that they have their economy is suffering, that they have the goal to be a world leader in economics and strategic stability. But we have not seen any indication. Within South Asia, India has a problem with Bangladesh. She has a problem with Sri Lanka, Nepal. Look at the smaller countries. And with Pakistan, at all times during the past 1.5 years, India kept this line of control, the firing on the line of control alive, and sending people inside Pakistan and killed Pakistanis. Thousands of them have been killed because of Indian sponsorship. Now, this is the actual real picture. If you analyze it independently, ask any international expert and ask them not to be partial. Impartially look at the killing. What happened in Pakistan since 2001. Thousands have been killed by Indian-sponsored militant and intelligence networks in Pakistan. The source of instability, when we argue, it tells about what kind of foreign policy country is running. India is running a foreign policy of fear, harassment, and bullying. And this cannot, be sort of expand or transformed towards a better South Asia, it will only create problems. If it creates problems for us, I'm absolutely positive it will create problems for India. And if it creates problems for India or Afghanistan, it will create problems for the world peace, for NATO, who are present in India, in Afghanistan. So these are the some of the important points, I would say, to be looked at, and they must be looked at from a very neutral angle, that Pakistan is trying to cooperate and offering everything it can, but India is not responding positively.
Thank you so much, Mohammad Athar Javed, for being on Tactical Talk. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much, Zain. I appreciate it.
This is Mohammad Athar Javed, the Director General of Pakistan House and also a senior geopolitical analyst. We were discussing the hybrid warfare, its dynamics and different layers. Until the next episode of Tactical Talk, this is Zain Khan. Take care and goodbye.